So thank you, Srivadharan, for accepting my invitation.
Hello,
So
sir.
now
Thank you.
you can start.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you all for giving me this opportunity. I'm very happy that Santosh sir has invited me for this talk. Hello guys. As Santosh sir said, I've been into this field for so long. So there is another part about me that I'm a hacker. I'm a computer hacker, and I've been working with the government for so long. And for me, in that career of cybersecurity and being a hacker, the one thing that helped me throughout this career is development, that is programming. So programming has been helping me in a lot of ways. So today I want to share what are all the trends that you should actually know in 2021, and what are all the things that are actually leading the industries. So Santosh sir was telling about a website that we did during my college days, that is for a company called Deccan Industries. So even till date, that college is utilizing the same website. So that company is using the same website. So this is the one we did back in 2000, 16, I believe. So even till date, this company is utilizing the same website, and it is working amazingly well for them. So whatever we have did by then, even till date. So the whole idea behind this is, whenever we are doing something, we should always keep it in a futuristic perspective, that it shouldn't simply look like a college project. If we have thought that it was just a simple college project, we wouldn't still be maintaining a good business relationship with Deccan. So even if there is something, the first thing that this company reaches out to is us. So why I'm telling all this is because if you stick to the trends in the current time in development, whatever you build will stand for like 10 years solid. So I don't think this website requires a drastic UI UX change, because what we did in 2016 is still enough for this day, including the animations, including the background score, including whatever that we are doing. It still stands and talks. So my whole idea today is, I want this session to go interactive. So if you want to talk to me, you simply just raise your hand. If you want to ask a question, please go ahead. Because I want you guys to be interactive. So if you are just keeping silent, I will not know what you will be listening, what you are understanding, etc, etc. So I'll be covering a lot of things today, and mostly we are going to stick with the topic of development. So if you have any queries with anything else, you can also ask me. I'm looking at the Zoom chat as we talk. I'm looking at all the participants. So if you want to raise your hand, you can please go ahead. So since this is also a short meeting, I'd like to not rush up a bit, but I'd like to go slow and steady, that every one of you understands what we are trying to. I'm trying to share with you guys today. So we starts with trends in 2021. That is trends in full stack development. So you guys know what is full stack development? Yeah, you guys know what is full stack development? Somebody? I am used to get answers for any yes or no questions. So if you guys even utilize the chat to simply put an yes or no message, that I'll be happy. You don't even have to unmute yourself to talk. You simply just just put an yes or no answer in the chat. That is all I am expecting. Thank you. Okay, nice. I'm getting chats. Nice, nice. Yeah. So when it concerns development, no, it is not just about front end and back end development. Full stack development is more than front end and back end development. Yes, yes, it is nice that you guys have some idea about this topic. So before I come into the area of development, can I ask you guys a question? Do you guys practice Git? I mean, whenever you're doing for lab projects, laboratory stuffs, or for your own things, do you use Git? Yes. So is Git a part of your college curriculum? Is Git a part of your college curriculum? No. Okay. So we all know that however hard we try, the syllabus of the college cannot cope up to the trends in development. So that is why colleges used to conduct all the workshop and seminars about the trends in development. So the syllabus in college is just to get you boosted, but it will never always be enough for you to stand and shine in the field of development. So take my words for it, practice Git, whether the Git is a part of your college curriculum or not. So why am I so insisting about Git? So Git is we are talking about Git. So Git is a version control software. So it means when you're developing, when you're making a prolonged hours of development, sometimes we miss some code, sometimes we don't know what we edited. So if I don't know whether you guys have experience with production level development or issues, but usually we will be having sleepless nights. We will be having when 10 developers are working on the same project, we'll never know who will mess up, right? We'll never know who is going to make that small thing in the code that is going to mess up the entire project. So Git is an amazing tool. Git will change, I mean, track for changes in each and every line of your code. So I'm here to give you what are all the things that you should put your focus into. So, and that first one I'm telling you about is Git. So Git is not that easy. I mean, sorry, Git is not that hard. I am not here to, put a fear in you guys. So Git is not that hard. All you guys need is just to practice. GitHub is free forever. You guys can go sign up an account. Do the first thing, do this one thing after this seminar. Go to github.com, create an account. Simply, whatever projects that you have already done, try to push it, try to maintain your profile. So this is the first thing. So I'm going to cover a lot of things, so I want you guys to pay attention. So second thing is Stack Overflow. So you guys know what Stack Overflow is? You guys know what is Stack Overflow? Stackoverflow.com. Yes. So why you guys use it for? What is the reason you guys use Stack Overflow for? What is the reason? So Stack Overflow is basically to get answers, right? To get answers, we can go to Stack Overflow, search for a question, and we'll always find an answer. Yes. So yeah, to get coding doubts clarified. So I want you guys to use Stack Overflow a step ahead of what you're doing right now. I want every one of you to go to Stack Overflow, create an account and start answering questions. So what is the secret to get a lot of knowledge? It is about asking questions. So it is not just about asking questions, it is just about asking the right questions. So I find Stack Overflow to be an amazing place where I can ask and answer questions. So if I want you guys not only to ask and answer questions, I want you guys to try to build a reputed profile. So building a reputed profile in Stack Overflow is not that easy. I'm not an active user of Stack Overflow, but I always find time to go and ask and answer questions in Stack Overflow. So Stack Overflow is an amazing platform which will always help you to get a lot of things done. So Stack Overflow is not only a developer community, but it will also push you as a developer a step forward, because when you're just a college guy, we will not even know how to ask right questions. Yes. So that is a crucial skill I believe every student must master. But being a college student, we will never know how much time we are going to get to do things, how much time we will have because of the assignments, that and this. But whatever you do, I think you should always have time to time, just like how you spend time on Instagram and Facebook and just scroll and comment on posts, like on posts. I want you guys to develop a habit of doing the same with this. If you can just scroll here for like 10 minutes, the amount of knowledge that you're going to get is like 4 to 5 times that of us ordinary lecture. So see, the questions and answers and discussions here are brainstorming. So Stack Overflow, please learn to use that. So, and the third thing, the editor, text editor. What text editor you guys use to code in your college? What is the text editor? So VS Code, that is amazing. That is amazing. I'm so happy to hear that you guys use VS Code, because when I was doing college, it was Notepad. I had to type a Java code in Notepad, and that doesn't make any sense. So I'm not talking about Notepad. I mean VS Code in your personal laptop. I'm talking about in your college laboratory. So see, I'm here to talk about the trends, right? So I don't have to always give it as the right thing that what you're already doing. So we should follow the trend. That is the whole point. So if you are not using Notepad, or I believe faculties are also here, if you are insisting your students to use Notepad, I am here to give you an example that just because of not using Notepad is the only reason I've become an amazing developer. I never touched Notepad, and even sometimes I tried Notepad and it didn't help me in any way, because people tried to mug up code and write code. Notepad is the worst stuff I have ever seen in my entire life. So if there are faculties here who are insisting your students to use Notepad, please don't do that, because it is not going to help them in any way. A lot of people think that typing in Notepad is going to help them, but no. So I'll tell you how I learned programming. So when I just finished my 12th standard, I joined in a small tutorial center that was just near my home, just to learn some advanced Java, because by that time I know C, C++, and a few other languages, and I was like experimenting with Java. It was back in 2012, and by then I joined that company, and they introduced me to IDEs, integrated development environment. Till then I'm not that matured enough to use IDEs. But once I started IDEs started to teach me, because when I wrote something, it will throw me like 200 different other options in front of my eyes, and those options will drive me. It is like a torchlight. It is like having a headlight on me, and I exactly know what is in front of me, and I exactly know what step I should take next. Because when you use Notepad, it is always dark. You will not know what syntax you mess up with. You will not know. You will basically never align the code. Yeah. The fourth thing that I'm going to tell here is indentation. So before even starting to talk about trends in full stack development, these things are like the basic stuff that any developer should be aware of. So the text editor conundrum: do not ever use Notepad, because that is going to I don't know what your college syllabus or what your college's laboratories guidelines are, but so long you keep using Notepad, it is not going to help anybody, because it is not helping you with text intentions. It won't suggest you what is there next. So for example, why I'm so about utilizing IDs. For example, this is a code runner. Okay, so if you ask your student for this I'm asking for the faculties. If you ask your student um, what are all the classes, I mean, what are all the methods available in Python, what are all the methods available for a string, they will think for a moment. But why they think for a moment? Because they never studied it, because it never was within their experience. But if they would have utilized an IDE, for example, this is a string, and if they just hit a dot, the IDE is going to tell them what are all the available methods. And this is where a student will think. And when programming, I obviously want something like this in front of me to think, what should I do next? Because I am about to do something, and if I can simply, scroll through the available functions, I will get a complete idea about what or all the possibilities that exist with this language. So I'm just telling for string, you just think about all the object-oriented programming languages. You just think about Java. Do you think Java can simply be learned with a notepad and writing on observation, copying it back to a record? No, it will never work like that. You should always give the students an opportunity to see what are all the things that are available outside the book. And for that, the only way is to use IDEs. I am pretty sure a lot of faculties, this is the state, I mean, this is the case in Tamil Nadu. Sometimes, because when I was studying, the trends was not Python, the trends was not IDE, the trend was completely different. But today, in the trends in development, you need to, supercharge yourself like blazing fast. And to do that, reading books is not the only way. If you simply go through this list of functions, you will always remember some. So when you get into a problem, or when you get into a situation, you will exactly know what are all the things that you can do, and what are all the things that you should do to solve a particular problem. Some people will not even know this find function, because it would have never occurred that string will have a find function. So if they want to search a character in string, they will be simply searching in Google how to do that. This, instead of doing that, have a habit of simply going through the functions available in that particular class. So only an IDE can help you do that. Okay. So learn to use IDEs. This is, you can take it as my advice, even if it goes against your college laboratories policies. So be glad to do that. Utilizing a notepad versus utilizing an editor like Sublime Text is going to improve you, only improve you. It is not going to spoil you in any way. So you can take it as my words and my experience, and I'm a living reality. The only reason I learned programming and I'm a good programmer today, and I'm a good cybersecurity analyst today, is because I started my career with an IDE, not with a notepad. And even when people try to push notepad into me, it didn't make any sense, because it is not giving me any insight about what I'm doing. Unless and until you get any insight about what you're doing, you're obviously going to be stuck. So that is where everybody loses. Most of the people lose interest in coding because they don't know what they are doing. They are trying to simply copy what they wrote in their observation to their laboratory screen, and then once it is compiled, then they are copying back into the record notes. This is the trend that I have been seeing for so long. I want to cut this trend. That is the reason I'm talking this as a part of today's meeting. So okay, so these are all some core essentials that you guys should use. Then let's come to the real trends in development. So who are all the who are all the audience here? Can I know, is it first year, second year, third year, fourth year, or faculty, CS? Can I get some insight on that?
So second years and third years along with the faculty members.
Nice. Okay. So second years and third years, nice. This is the right time for you guys to learn a lot of stuffs. So what I'll be talking about you today is the evolution of full stack development. Okay, so I am not only a programmer, but I also run a company, and Here we do a lot of steps, and when it comes to development, I always want my one programmer to handle multiple things. So you know why? The first reason is cost. Basically, I can't develop a PHP programmer and then another web developer, another UI, another UX, because I'm not running a MNC. So any startup companies, any small companies, any small medium level enterprises, all these guys prefer to go with a full stack developer. So if you want your chance of getting hired to be boosted multifold, I recommend you to become a full stack developer. So first of all, most of the people don't even know what is full stack development. So when I asked the question you guys gave me, it is just about back end and front end development. It is not just about back end and front end development. So it is it is about the complete architecturing. So a full stack development is not only development, it is about creating an architecture. So when you're a software developer, you're a software architect by yourself. So it is about architecting. Shrikar, if you have some queries, you can. Okay, I saw a hand raise. Okay, that is fine. Okay, so evolution of full stack development, that is why we are now. So I wanted to share with you guys what are all the existing trends in this full stack development and why we call this a full stack development in the first place. So a single programmer, for example, if I can pay somebody an 80,000 or 1 lakh rupees a month, I expect him to do a lot of job, right? So I can't only put him just as a PHP developer who will be sitting idle by doing all the backend tasks and giving all the hardest things to the cheapest UI developer that I can hire for 15,000. No, it won't work like that. So full stack development has a lot of things, and if you want to be a full stack developer, these are all the trends that you should put your vision into. And the first one is a LAMP stack. I don't know if you guys know it. I will obviously explain everything. So another one is MERN stack. You know what is MERN stack? And the next one is WAMP stack, LAMP stack, MAMP stack, LAMP, XAMPP. All these, like, rhymes similar, right? LAMP stack, mean stack, and what was the last one? Jamstack. Yes. So most of you guys don't might always know this. Sorry, this is LAN, not. Yeah, MERN, yes. So a LAMP stack means the stack exists on a Linux operating system. So the L here stands for Linux. So mostly these things are just abbreviations for some technologies. I'll be writing them all. So LAMP goes for Linux operating system, Apache, PHP, MySQL. So this is a stack. That means you can choose to be either one, but it is not hard to choose multiple stacks of interest. So if you guys want to become a full stack developer, I want you guys to choose any one of these as your starter, and over time I want you guys to learn multiple of these. So if you ask me, I probably know basically everything here, and the reason I was able to understand all these things are through experience only, just by writing code, sitting in front of the computer writing codes, and experimenting and learning. That is how we do. So next one is MERN stack. So going to the MERN stack. It is MongoDB. OS. So you know MongoDB. What is MongoDB? You know what is MongoDB? So MongoDB is a no SQL, no SQL database. I am very sure MongoDB might not be a part of your college curriculum, and people are always being talking about MySQL, but MySQL and MongoDB are equally important. You can't skip one for another. So MongoDB helps us in a lot of places where MySQL won't function, as well as MySQL functions in a lot of ways where this won't function. I mean, the MongoDB won't function. So each of them has their own advantages and disadvantages, and I want you guys to understand why. Yeah, I want you guys to understand why each of these things are necessary. And the third thing, what we are talking about is WAMP stack. W here stands for Windows. So most of the development that I've did in my lifetime is always on Linux. I'm basically not a Windows person, because maybe if even from the beginning I never liked the nature of .NET development and Visual Studio Code. So even if you ask today, I'm not a big fan of any Windows development. Why? Because I am a Java person and I'm a Python person. And if I can write a script once, I can actually basically run it anywhere. Even if it is a UI related stuff, Java, throws out plenty of things like Java FX, Java Swing. Even if I go to Python, Python has Qt. So it never was a requirement for me to learn. Even today, it is never a requirement for me to learn .NET. But having an idea in Python and stuffs is going to help you in a lot of different ways. But since we are talking about trends in full stack development, we'll be covering each of them as we proceed. So right now we are at WAMP stack. So it is Windows operating system, and Apache, as we said, Apache 2, it is all the same. It is just a version, so let me not make it obvious. And MySQL PHP. So next is MAMP stack. You know what is MAMP? The M here stands for Mac OS. So Mac OS, the same, Apache and MySQL and PHP. Yeah. So trends in development means it also has a full full-fledged involvement in what operating system that you utilize for development. If you're concerned about a backend development, go with Linux. If your company always insists about utilizing Windows-based operating systems, then WAMP stack is for you. And MAMP is. But have you seen this Apache PHP MySQL, Apache PHP MySQL, Apache PHP MySQL? These are all the same things, right? Then why do we call it a different stack? Because they are on different operating systems. So will that make any change in my MySQL PHP development? Basically, no. But when it comes to their security and when it comes to their scalability, now things matters. Because what operating system that you run this programming language on matters a lot. And MAMP stack is okay if I'm running an application only on my computer. And WAMP stack is okay if I'm running it on a Windows server. But LAMP stack is the trend, because a lot of companies, host it in a Linux operating system, utilize Apache to host a PHP MySQL site. I have not even put HTML a part of here it. So we will go there very soon. So now comes the XAMPP stack. So this XAMPP is basically cross-platform. So why is it a cross-platform? Because XAMPP is a developer purpose thing. That means XAMPP can help you to learn. XAMPP is where you learn easily. So because it is cross-platform, you can install it in Windows, Mac operating system, or Linux, and you can basically do the same thing. And again, here, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Yeah. So, and the following thing is LAMP, and this is simple. Linux, instead of Apache, there is another scalable web server called as Nginx. So these two guys are basically web servers. You know what web servers are? Web servers are the program that listens to port 80 and 443 and basically delivers the website, right? You guys know how these things work. You guys know what are sockets, and you guys know how websites work. Yeah. Do you know that web is HTTP and everything works on sockets? You guys know that? Yes or no? Did you learn network programming in your college, second and third years, in your lab, using sockets? Okay, so if you have not learned sockets, that is fine. I'll give you a small, yeah, not it, right? Okay, I'll give you a small idea on what that is. So how many of you here are sitting in front of a computer right now? How many of you? Okay, so shall we do a small experiment? Yes, amazing. So I want to showcase why I said all these things run on sockets. So most of us have never seen a socket communication in a real life. And so let me show you something. So this is a small program that we have developed in one of our classes. And I'd like to run this. This is a mathematics server. This is basically a server, and you guys can connect it from anywhere. And this will demonstrate a basic idea about sockets. And in a moment, I will also cover how how sockets are implemented in web development, and how we can see things in life. Nice. So what I'm going to do is, okay. So I'm going to run this. So do you know that there is a tool called as BC in Linux? There is a tool called BC. BC is a mathematics calculator, and if you just open in and give it any commands like A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20, A divided by 20, it will give me an sorry, A divided by 3. It will give me some output. So I can basically do mathematics calculations. Not only that, I can give it loops and stuffs. So for example, I less than 10, I plus plus, and just print I. It will do that. So this is just a program, and this exists in all all the Linux operating systems. And what we did, this is a simple Python program that basically pipes in it will let you connect to my socket. I mean, it will let you connect to my computer where I'm working right now, and let you spawn a new process of BC in my computer, and you guys can give a mathematics query, and it will work. So we are going to experiment that right now. So why I'm doing that is so important, because the next thing that I'm going to show is we are going to see how this implements in your what I mean in websites, and how web works. So Okay, so the server has been started. Now, what I want you guys is to connect to my computer on this domain. Let me just share you. You can telnet if you have telnet. Telnet. I'll show. I mean, let me write a domain that will resolve to my IP. Learn dot selfmade dot 3074. I want you guys to connect to this from your terminal. And when you connect, I will gracefully see your IP address. And once you are done, you should be able to give out mathematics queries. So I'm also doing that. You can see. Okay, so this I connected locally from were you guys able to connect? Is it possible? Are you guys able to connect? So let me check that. Yeah, it is working. You guys should give it a try. So basically it'll open up a place like this. Okay, where you can give in expressions. For example, yeah, I see that somebody is able to connect. So A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20, A plus B, it'll give an output. So you can put a while, you can make it like I is equal to 10 while I less than, sorry, I greater than 0, I minus minus. See, something like this. So the whole idea of me showing you this is to show you how socket communication works. So socket means this is a server. I'm giving you an input and you will give me an output. This is basically like a request response protocol. So I'll place a request and then suddenly a request will, response will come back to me. And this is how the entire world of network works, right? Request response protocol, client server model. So you will be learning all these things as you go forward. But this particular thing that I'm telling you about will help you understand web development from the core. So let's take a small website, okay, something that just runs on HTTP. I might just pull some website that are only HTTP. Okay, so this is a sample website, I believe, and I don't know if this website is still. You guys know some website that is that just only uses HTTP? So I want to show you something. Okay. So there is a website called as Never SSL. Okay. So let me show you how we can just, open this socket from, open this website from, you guys used to, put the website name in the URL and open it, right? So let me show you how we can do it from a terminal. Why? Because this will help you understand sockets, because most of you guys never learned sockets. And when colleges are teaching you sockets, you can make communication between two computers. You can write your own chat program. Even you can do this. If I can simply quit this server, most of you have should have tried. So even if I can quit this server and simply open a port if someone else connect now, I can basically chat with you. So sockets make two things communicate. And why I'm talking about sockets in full stack development, anything that you learn, anything that that a modern computer works on, are all written on top of socket. So being a full stack developer means you should understand the full depth of technology. And being that, you should be able to understand the internals and internal functions of everything that you experience with. So I am going to show how. So this is neverssl.com, right? So let's try to get its IP address first. This is quite slow, but that is okay. Okay, so this is the IP address that we are looking for. Okay, so whenever you want to open a website, you should give that site a request, right? When you hit www dot something and you just open it, website will simply open for you. That is what we see and feel every time. So what I'm going to show you now is, damn slow. I believe we should have chosen some other website that is, kind of okay. This scratchpads.org is it my internet? No, definitely not mine. My internet is all looks okay. It is just that no sites that we touch is working. Okay, let me. What is happening? Nothing is opening. Okay, let me try to switch the browser. Or no, I want it to be. Not Chrome. Let's go with Safari itself. Okay, so this is a website that I believe that runs on HTTPS. Why I'm so concerned about selecting a HTTP only site is without that I can't give this demonstration. But for our bad, nothing is opening. Something is terribly wrong with my internet connection, or something is wrong with the routes. Okay, so for now, let's just drop this experiment because this is consuming time. I'm sorry, if I find time, I'll be able to show this to you guys sometime again after, if we get a chance to meet. So where were we? Mean stack. And this was the last thing. I mean, Mongo. So why I'm telling you about all these things is, give an attempt to learn what it is. Express.js, Angular, and Node. So this is JavaScript, APIs, and markup. So I think something is wrong with my internet connection. Some specific websites are not opening. Yeah, looks like it. So am I still audible to you guys? Am I still audible? Can I get an S? Yes, nice. So I okay, good. So let's move forward. So why full stack means, as I already said, entrepreneurs, anybody who runs a company, it will be comfortable for them if one guy knows all these things. You can't expect just to learn Java and get a placement, because this is not 2000s. We are living in 2021, and any average programmer knows 2 to 3 programming languages, and this is nothing to worry about, because learning programming languages is as easy as eating a cake. And what you need to try access my website. Yeah, I can. I think I can't copy from here. Let me hello HELIO post.us. No, I guess something is wrong with my internet. Just a specific websites are not opening. See if I .us. We can hack them, but I guess something is wrong with my internet. But that is fine. Yeah, sir, I just saw it, but it is not opening. I don't know why. Google is opening, Facebook is opening, nothing else is opening. Or why can't I do this? I have some web pages hosted in my computer itself. Okay, then something is definitely wrong. Yeah, seriously, something is definitely wrong. It is even not opening the open the browser. Maybe I can do that. I don't think it is a browser issue. Should be something else. Because I used this website to give the same kind of demonstration like a week ago, and this website was opening. The other one just Santosh sir sent to my WhatsApp now. That is also sure. So how long you guys have? I mean now time, sir. How long do I have?
You can continue.
No, you can continue.
Okay, sir. Then I'll simply do this. I'll put you as host now. I'll just leave the meeting and I'll join back. I think something is wrong with my internet. That is so that I'll simply reset the connection and I'll join back, sir. So I'm just making Santosh sir the host. Sir, I'll just leave and I'll join back in a moment.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay, now am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, nice. So now it all works, no issues with anything. So even the website that you sent is working, no issues. It was my network. Okay, so let's just do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the HTTP request. Basically, any if we are sending a request to the server is going to respond. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to see the HTTP request here, and I'm taking the IP address for one, and I need the HTTP request too. So what I'm going to do is, let me write it down somewhere first. And this is basically the HTTP request. Why we call this a HTTP request? Whenever you try to open something to your browser will send all these things over sockets to that particular server. And we have never thought of web this way, that they all work on top of sockets. So let's put this IP address and uh, have this port ready. And what all I'm going to do is simply pass this headers over sockets. And what I'm going to get is you're going to witness it, right? So let's just look at it and see what we are going to get. So it connected to this website. I've sent the headers, and in a moment, I simply received the entire website. You able to see? I just received the entire HTML right down my terminal. So why this happens? Because this is how internet works. This is how web works. All you need to do is connect to the server that you want, pass the headers, pass the headers, and you will simply get a response. Now, looking at this in the terminal, this all feels so simple, but this is what your browser do. This is what the internals of your computers works when you request for a web. It basically opens a connection to a particular socket. It will basically send this headers and it will make it work. Okay, here actually the encoding doesn't work because of various things, but let's try this get more. So let me copy its header. So headers are I think this knowledge will help you when you're learning about HTTP and HTTP headers and a lot of other stuff. So right now this is what we have, and we are going to talk to this IP address. And on port 80. So if I send this, now you're going to see something weird. Okay, I send this. Now you see this doesn't make any sense, right? Can you see all these characters doesn't make any sense for this? You know why? Because the content has been encoded. It has been compressed because we requested for it to compress. I asked it to accept an encoding, compress the content and send me. I can inflate it. Deflate means, you are deflating a balloon, like, put the all air out, and so that you can pack it in a small thing. That is called as compression. We all see compression, right? When you give some files to your friends, you compress it. So something like that. Even when the server want to send a huge, stream of data, it will basically compress. It is not compressing by will. It is compressing on demand. So let's just do a small thing. Let's try to take this off. This is the guy who was telling it to compress, right? Also, I don't want any cookies. So let's just take these two things off. And let's do it again. And interestingly enough, we are going to get the actual content instead of that gibberish that we received last time. So the whole idea of this experiment is everything in the internet works on sockets. And whether you learn web development, whether you learn any type of full stack development, whatever that you do, understand sockets. Because I don't know how important colleges are telling you to learn about sockets and network programming and stuffs. But these two things, wherever you go, these two things will help. One, your knowledge on sockets and socket programming, and socket. Two, APIs and its development. So as we talk about APIs, this is where we are. API, application programming interface. Have you used what an API? I mean, have you ever used the API in your development? Have you ever tried to use an API? You know what an API is, and how we can use an API, etc., etc., etc. Yes. Yeah, you guys know what an API is? Yes, can I get an answer? I'm looking at the chat right now, waiting for some of you guys to reply. Okay, nice. So APIs means application programming interfaces. Yeah, communication between two different programming languages. Nice explanation. Nice explanation. Yes. So when you guys start to learn to utilize APIs, APIs are merely a HTTP request that will go to a server, and that server will process something and give something back to you. And when we talk about API, I request you, every one of you, to utilize a tool called Postman. Okay, so this tool Postman is available online. You can simply go to Google and search in Google to learn about Postman. This is a tool that will help you understand and program. So for example, this is a API. This is simply an API that will tell if I'm connected to a VPN or not. Simply, I can pass an IP address here, and it will simply tell me if it is a VPN or not. So, for example, for this IP, if I simply send it, it is simply returning me 0. That means it is not a VPN IP. But in case if I have connected to a VPN and I just give its VPN IP. If some of you guys are on VPN and just throw your IP address here, I can put it here and I can show you how it works. Even we can simply look at any other workspace. Yeah, I have a lot of APIs here. Okay, so this is called as this is what we called as Wolfram. Yeah, this is Wolfram. Wolfram is a nice API. Let's do a small thing with this. So this server is utilizing Wolfram, and if I give any query, for example, distance between sun and moon, it will give it. So are you into write a super intelligent Python program, a small Python program that is going to basically answer every one of your queries? Whatever you ask, it is going to be so much intelligent. Are you ready to do that? We are going to utilize APIs to do that. Shall we? And the best thing about Python, Postman is this guy does the programming for you, man. This guy does the programming. Just select the, put the get request, put the parameters. If you have no idea what an API means, please go learn. APIs are simply, what I am doing here is simply, this is a HTTP request, which I can, do a lot of things with it. But this is basically a simple HTTP request that you can put in your browser and get a result of. So the same thing I'm putting as a query here, and it is giving me the same output. So in case if I put something else, like diameter of Earth, and it is going to give out an answer. So this intelligence is this is the type of intelligence that your phone's Siri assistant or your Google assistant or your Google are all using. This is called as Wolfram. Wolfram is a service that is doing this, and this API is of Wolfram. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a small Python. Not me. This is going to generate code. I'm simply going to intelligently utilize that. And where is Python? Python requests. Okay. So we are going to do this. For this, I'm going to utilize a tool called CodeRunner. So this is what I use to write codes. Okay. So this is basically it. And we want to get the query from the user, right? So okay. I don't think we need headers and payload. All these things are just okay. This is just a so simple Python program. And when I run, it is going to ask me, what is my question? So let's say diameter of Mars. So it is going to wait and it gave me an answer. Yeah, interesting, right? So weight of Earth about 5.9 times 10 to the 24 kilograms. Wow. You see, this is API. This is APIs for you. So APIs are how you can interact with a different service, and APIs are how you can supercharge your development. You should learn how to utilize APIs. So APIs are just pass some simple query to some simple server, and that some simple server is going to respond to you in text or in some other form like JSON or something else. So for example, what is this? Yeah, this is a Google Translate API where if you simply put a word, it will translate it for you. So the source language, translation language, it is I'm asked for Arabic. For example, let's put Tamil. So now you see it is simply replying in Tamil for me. Can you see this? Yeah. So this is a Google Translate API that is replying in JSON. So basically, there is an API for everything. The whole purpose of me talking about this is there is a API for every single thing. All you have to do is go to Google, check, scan, and find an API to get some particular thing done. Sometimes these APIs are of cost. Sometimes these APIs are free. But you guys are simply students, right? Try to utilize the free APIs and learn how to do things. And when you go to your college and when you go to your uh, work, this knowledge will definitely help you. So it just took some 5 lines of code to build some super intelligent thing. You can even submit it as your college's mini project, and everybody is going to say yes, obviously yes. And don't do that for one. And please put a lot of efforts, learn a lot of things. Consistently learning is the thing. And you don't have to do learning as a process. You have to do learning as a like just how you play games. That is how I do. And best of all, it is fun. And learn programming, learn multiple programming languages. A lot of people, when we talk about learning multiple programming languages, people always kind of struggle. Why do they struggle? Because they think learning multiple programming languages are so hard. The truth is not that. Learning multiple programming languages is so easy because you don't have to learn or repeat the same learning process twice. If I learn programming already, if I learn one programming language already, learning a new programming language is not a hard task for me. So now I'm going to give you a gift. It is not mine basically, but this is a discovery that I did a while ago. Some years ago. So there is a website called as learnxinYminutes.com. Okay, learn X in Y minutes, where X can be anything. That is a programming language. if you just go into this website and have a look, you should be able to see that there are plenty of programming languages here. And this is like a cheat sheet for every language. For example, we take Python. So I don't know how many of you here knows Python. Let's take Python. So this is simply, you know, follow up guide. Yeah, it is free. It is free. You don't have to pay anything. Learn X in yminutes.com. So it will simply have a whole guide about the program. So if you know one programming language already, any one programming language, you can simply, you know, go through this to understand what are all the things the Python has to offer. So you can learn like 2 to 3 programming languages in a week. And if you look at me, I know tons of programming languages, and half of which I never even mentioned in my website. And how it is all possible? Because I always, you know, yeah, see, I do multiple programming languages. I learn multiple tech stack. This is my website for one, because I just wanted you to see how learning new programming languages became so easy. So all you need to do is simply go here, practice what they have said, because it is all written with comments. What is that? What is this? How you need to do that? This, etc. Everything is written. Everything is well documented, and not only for one programming language, but for basically for every stack out there. You want Git, you have it. You want Dockers, you have it. You want Dockers, you have it. You want you know, some Erlang, some old, yeah, Erlang, you have it. So there are a lot of things are available here, and it is all free of cost. Okay, so this is for you to learn development. And sometimes when we develop, we will always need to refer, right? We'll never know. We'll always try to look up at the books or online, but we are not you know, prepared, and we are not you know, used to read documentations, right? So I want you guys to know this website also, called as devdocs.io. So this website basically has documentation for every language that is popular. So for example, I want PHP. It has PHP. I can simply go, okay, PHP enable. Yeah. Okay. Once I enable PHP, this will, you know, simply show me everything that is possible with PHP. So I can, it will show me the functions. It will have examples of everything. So basically, everything about that language for reference purposes. If you're already a programmer and you simply want to know how to do that one particular thing, for example, I want to you know, upload a file or log into some FTP server and upload a file. This is it. So this basically give you an example program for everything, and the website is devdocs.io. I want you guys to know these two websites and utilize them in your day-to-day workflow. So the number one thing is learn X in Y. Is it full minutes or am I just wanted to check. Oh, it is full. Learn X in yminutes.com, and the second resource is devdocs.io and DOCS. Okay. So these two websites are going to you know, help you enrich yourself in multiple programming languages, because you know, when you learn a multiple new programming language, you'll always, you know, stuck up where to start. You will not have a place where you can simply go and refer all these things. So I want you guys to utilize, make use of these sites, and you know, supercharge your career. So all the best for you guys, and that's all for today. And if you have any queries, questions, you can you know, ask me. So this is question time. Okay, so this is feedback form. Nice. So please, fill your feedbacks. The feedback that link has been shared in your chat. So open this website and please do share. I mean, please do write your feedback. So if you guys have, questions, nice. Java or Python, which is better according to user? So according to me, both of them has its own advantages and disadvantages. I am not going to, compare what is best. I'm going to tell you both are best at what it do. And, it is just about the programmer who chooses the language of choice. So if you're asking me for learning, whether you want to learn Java or Python, I'd like to say learn both, because you are not going to make a choice, and programming is just one concept. Whether you learn it via Java or Python, the concept of programming is same. It is just your ability to give instructions to the computer. And I think you should learn both, because if you know multiple programming languages, it's obviously going to make a mark in your career, and it is not hard at the end of the day. I want you to give it a try to this learnxinYminutes.com, and it will help you. So if you have more queries, you can write to my email. You can find the email in my website. So Devi sir has shared my website here. You can simply go to my website, and in the contact, you can basically send a message here, or you can directly write it to me on my Telegram. So this is company's phone number, so I won't be picking this, but this Telegram is on my phones. You can always contact me over Telegram. So as a beginner in this huge field, what are all the things I always need to be keen of, and where can I learn full stack? So see, full stack is not a dangerous thing, and it is not something you have to be afraid of. Full stack is just about you knowing how to handle all the problems that might come in a project. And to learn full stack, I recommend you to start to learn programming. And I've said a lot of things today, like an API, like Git, like the lot of different stacks. So these are all the things that you need to be keen of. I've exactly said what are all the things that you need to be keen of to make something work, and to become a full stack developer. All you need to do is become, the number one thing is become a programmer, become a full stack developer just by learning programming. That is the only way. The only way for you to do is practice, do projects, do live projects, do industrial projects, approach a company, ask for the problems that they have, and solve them for you. Solve them, and that is how you are going to learn. It is, you can't expect to learn and become a full stack developer right down in your college. That is definitely not possible. You have to come out of it is possible to learn full stack development while you're in college, but what I'm telling is it is not just possible right inside your classroom. You have to come out of your classroom, and you need to learn it by yourself. So I get into tutorial. Purgatory. How can I come out of it? Okay, this is a nice question. A lot of people ask me this. People always follow tutorials and never learn anything new, never learn to build anything new by themselves. So yeah, this is nice that you ask this question. So how I ask, how I tell my students to solve this is, don't follow tutorials. Try to build. People always fails to build. People are we are used to follow instructions. Yes, but see the irony. Computers are made to follow instructions, not us. We are made to create. So how to get out of this tutorial purgatory? All you need to do is stop following the tutorials, start learning programming. and start learning to do your own projects. When you learn and when you do one project by yourself, the type of thought process that you have will be, flipped right over. And that is where you can, grow like a phoenix bird and learn and grow. So I'm not telling it is bad to follow tutorials, but you should do only when it is often required. You should not, make tutorials as your learning mode. Tutorials are tutorials. They are not learning stuffs. So as long as you're aware of that, things will be okay. So next, the question is from Mr. Venkatesh. Do projects what I learn take less time or learn things according to my project ideas? See, learning and innovation should go hand in hand. You can't, prepare for 4 years and just come out of it and simply go get a job. No, it won't work like that. You should learn and do in the same time, because learning and doing are a co-evolutionary process. So you will learn and then you will do. When you do, you will learn, and that is how you grow. It is an evolutionary process. So if you simply sit in front of books and I'm going to completely master C programming and then I'm going to do a project, it is not going to work, because nobody can do some things like that. The books are just for reference. So learn things according to your project ideas are a good thing, but start doing your project first and do it. I want you to do both. Do projects. What I learned takes less time. That is where you can start. But as you progress, you need to do both ends. So you need to balance, right? Mani Teja. So there are many frameworks: front end, Angular, React, Vue, backend, Node, Django. Learning everything takes a lot of time. How to make a better choice? Nice question. So these are all basically confusing terms. Most of the people don't even know JavaScript, but they want to get into AngularJS. Most of the people don't even know JavaScript, but they want to learn Node.js. What I am telling you is, master the fundamentals of programming first. And when you are so strong with the fundamentals, these are all just one another manifestation of the same programming language that you already know. Either it be Angular, either it be React, either it be Node, or either it be Backbone, either it be Express, either it be whatever JS, whatever fancy JS that is. If you are, if you are a master of JavaScript, all these things are going to be easy, because at the end of the day, they are just some frameworks. So don't focus on learning frameworks. Frameworks you can learn when you're, working on the projects. Focus on learning the fundamentals, because most of the people lack with fundamentals. Most of the people lack, with the basic understanding of programming languages. And I think you need to fix that, the root cause of the problem. And learning all these things will be so easy. So for me, all these things was not even a challenge, not even because I learned JavaScript back when I was in 12th standard, and then I used I do jQuery. I use jQuery in a lot of my projects, and when they started this Angular trend, Angular 1 was there. Then suddenly this whole syntax changed. Then people moved to Angular 2. Then within like 1 year, 1.5 years, Angular 4 came, and nobody was using Angular 2. So these are all simply, ups and down trends. These are some disruptors in the market that, people at Google and Facebook does it, and they'll publicize it, and it will suddenly become popular. And over time, people can't adapt because they are changing the syntax and things rapidly. So you are not supposed to master frameworks, because if someone would have, spent 3 or 6 months to learn Angular 2, I am seriously sad for them, because Angular 2 is not at all being useful today. But if you have, if you have sat and learned the core concepts of JavaScript programming, then you would be shining even, because today Angular 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 or Node.js, whatever newest programming languages that come, it will be a lot helpful for you. And I think I'm telling you again that you should focus on the fundamentals more than the fancy frameworks. So any next question? Anyone else? So, sir, I think everybody is done with their questions.
Okay, thank you, Sibi, for your informative session.
Thank you, sir.
So here I want to tell one thing. Actually, that Sibidharan families belongs to that medical family. All the people are working in medical only. So they all are doctors. They are working, but because of that programming knowledge, and he choose that engineering field. Actually, that parents forced to join in medical only because of that somewhat affection in the programming. He chose that engineering field, and he is not depending on any faculty. So he will learn and he will execute. Actually, that in 2013 I joined in SNS College of Technology. So that time they assigned me as a second year C section mentor. So that time when I was meeting with my colleague, so they told that, sir, you are having that big challenge in your class. So I asked what. So they told that, sir, in your class one student is there. So his name is Ibidharan. So in the first year, in the first lab, he told that he don't want to work in the lab because that all the machines are Windows operating system only, but he want that Linux operating system. So that one, the first I got that information from the other colleagues. Then they told that, sir, you cannot feed food for that Sibidharan, sir. So you have to do that multiple works like that. So I think I gave some food for you, but that now you gave some lot of food for my student also. So
Yes, sir.
in our college also, like you, some students are there. So I hope that you can take in your team also. So if
Definitely, sir.
possible.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. You guys, you can always reach out to me over my website or my Instagram, or I'm actually conducting a lot of courses and classes. So if you guys want to participate there, you can go through this and see if you wish to go there, because I'm actually teaching hacking, and this 5th batch is going to start on June 15th, just like 10 days away. So if you guys want to learn from me, it is a 3-hour course, and I mean, it is a 1-month course, and classes are there for 3 hours every day, and I am teaching. So you can go and visit. Also, I want to add one more thing. So when I was in college, and basically faculties or yeah, as the same incident that Santosh sir was telling, Windows operating system always fails me, because I wanted some IDEs to be installed so that I can program. So I asked faculties, I asked everybody, but none of them was ready to install an IDE in my computer. And at that particular time, Java 6 has been Java 6 has been expired, and I mean, it is not out of support, and Java 8 has been released. But my college, I think it was installed Java 6 or something. So I asked my lab admins a couple times, but they was not ready to install or update it. So what I did was, I hacked the computer, escalated my student access into administrator access. I installed NetBeans and the version of Java that I want. Then I started to use that computer for my own. So, so the whole moral here is, if you want something to learn, you need to get it done by yourself. But don't break the law. But it is okay to break the rules. Don't break the law. Breaking law will, put you behind bars. Though don't do that. So just for fun. So thank you, sir, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Santosh sir has been a huge help for me during my colleges and learning, and Santosh sir encourages me. So Santosh sir knows that I'm not going to pass in my exams, at some exams, because but if I go and ask for an on duty because I'm going to attend a competition or something, Santosh sir is the first person who supports me and signs it, and he lets me win competitions. And because of that, I have collected so many trophies, so many first places, and this is even apart from what I have did in my academics. The support that I've received from Santosh sir and other faculties in my college actually helped me, really helped me outside my studies, because going to a competition and seeing what is happening, and then blasting through that and acquiring a first prize, even I don't know if I'm going to win or not before entering into the competition. But those type of challenges made me a man who I am. So if you guys want to learn and grow, then competitions are a nice way, and get started attending symposiums, attend coding contests, code jams. And so yeah, that's all for today, guys. Thank you sir, thank you Santosh sir, thank you Devi sir for giving me this opportunity. Thank you all guys for patiently listening to me. So we'll all meet once again if an right opportunity presents. Thank you, sir.
Surely, Shibi. So we'll also wait for that occasion only. So thank
Definitely,
you
sir.
once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
So now that students, you can fill that Google form and you can leave.
Yeah. Okay, sir. So shall I end the meeting?
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.